Hey everyone, I wanted to do this video just to go over a few things we did in our last sales meeting, but there's more here. So if you're at the sales meeting and you feel like you got everything, I am gonna recover a few things which will be helpful to you, hopefully. But I'm also going to add some things that we just didn't have time for that I think are vitally important. And I've got some specific information here for each of you about your own production, your own possibilities for you. And then I want you to engage and work on an exercise here. So please take the time to listen to this, view it, take some notes. I think this can be very helpful for you. So I just titled it my EMT Takeaways. Going up to EMT last week in Minneapolis was a big eye opener. There's been a lot of changes and really just for me, just remembering some things that I had forgotten and getting re-energized. So the first one is this slide, I think I gave it out to everyone at the meeting, but I wanted to just go over. I didn't spend much time. The sales meetings, we just don't have that much time. I wanted to show you, this is the timeline, the typical timeline that shows 90% of the time being in the education phase, 10% of the home buyers in the action phase. What this does, it does a really good job of showing this isn't so much a line as it is a circle. If you think about the average home buyer having 8 transactions in their lifetime, they're going to go through this timeline, starting at the far left with the aspiring tab. Something's going to happen. There's going to be something in their life that's going to get them thinking about buying a home. They're going to then start education. They're going to then get in the car, drive around. They're going to meet agents. Then they're going to start searching for mortgage rates and going through the transaction. I just think that's really good. Once they get the transaction done, they're going to then become a nosy neighbor waiting for the next life change or whatever, and may loop around to do another transaction again, and probably will. So I thought that was a really helpful visual there to connect some of those dots. The thing that really hit me the hardest during EMT was this whole module on higher conversion through buyer engagement. Here in our office, we focused a lot initially on just getting downloads, just physically getting downloads for anybody that was breathing, and we got a bunch of them, and that was good. And most everybody got really good at getting people to download. What we didn't see is that percentage of closings, that 5% closing rate for the downloads that HBM talks about. The main reason is engagement. And frankly, a lot of those people were refinance transactions, so they weren't really looking to move into they weren't contacting us so much about real estate, which is what the plan is built on. They were contacting us about a mortgage, refinancing their mortgage. And that's a little different. Although if we go back, you can see at some point something is going to happen. There's going to be a life change, some kind of trigger. And thank goodness they do have the app downloaded, and hopefully they're going to be engaged when that occurs. And chances are they may not if you hadn't done a good job of engaging them right up front. And frankly, hardly any of us did. I'm going to go ahead and just go out on a limb and say none of us did. That's because we weren't trained on it and we didn't know. No reason to beat ourselves up, but there is a reason to begin doing it now. Okay, let's start going through this. I wanted to point out a few things. The first one here is everybody that you talk to about a mortgage, unless it's a pure refinance transaction, has not called you because of a mortgage. This is a really, really key point, and you got to listen to this. They're contacting you because they want to buy a house. The mortgage is just a necessary evil in their mind. So you can choose to engage them like every other loan officer, on the level of the mortgage and leave it at that. A better choice would be to engage them on the level of the house, because the house is the dream. That's where the emotional connection happens. That's the brilliance of HPM. It allows us to have a tool where we can engage them at the level of the dream versus just the numbers in the mortgage, the thing they don't really want. That's one of the great things about Churchill Mortgage. We're focusing on debt-free home ownership. People don't want to have a mortgage. That's the bad thing. And so make a choice, make a shift in your mind that says, when I engage with people that are looking to buy, I'm going to engage with the dream, not with the mortgage. And HPM is the perfect tool for that. So just have a realization they're looking for real estate. Another question, or another thought. Are they looking online on a mobile app for real estate? The answer is yes. 100% of the time, they're doing that or they're going to do that. And so you get to choose, is it going to be you or someone else that they're looking with? Okay, next one. Generate immediate Home Scout interest and engagement through buyer coaching. They, in all likelihood, have already downloaded an app for searching real estate, and guess what? They like that app better than yours. They like that app better than yours when they haven't even seen yours. The reason is they're accustomed to it. They've been using it. They're familiar with it. It's comfortable. If you don't take a moment up front to get them to download your app and then walk them through using it so that they develop a comfort level with it, and then a few other key things, then the odds that they're going to abandon their old app and start using yours are lower. So you've got to increase those odds. That's what lead conversion is all about. Your job, the primary purpose of your business, of your job, is lead conversion. And doing this the right way is going to help increase the odds of converting each and every lead that you get. Okay, next one, remain relevant through the home buyer education phase, and we can talk about that. And then get in touch with the real estate agent early. Either refer them to one or contact the one they're working with. Vitally important. We talk about this all the time. So few of you are actually doing it, and I just frankly, it kind of angers me a little bit. You've got to understand the importance of this. It's that very few things more important. So you gotta start doing this stuff, guys. Okay, next, jumping down. 93% of buyers start with the house. 7% start with a loan. Honestly, I don't believe that number. I don't think 7% start with a loan. I can't even believe it's that high. Maybe it is, but I don't believe it is. So I'd be more in the 99.9% start with the house. The next one is that idea of relationship disruptors. Along that phase, there are going to be these public lead aggregation sites, Zillow and Redfin and Realtor.com, and all. They're there to disrupt your relationship, and they do a really good job. And you've got to understand that they are the enemy, and you are in a fight for your customer. And you must be aggressive to win this fight. You must get in there and do proactive things to win this fight. They did a case study, or HPM did a case study with Zillow, and a customer registered, and 3 agents and 7 lenders contacted them. It's just, and each of those 3 agents, guess what? They had their favorite lender or 2. So you're talking 10 or more lenders that you are allowing to be introduced to disrupt your relationship if you do not get them off those sites by doing all the positive good things that we're teaching you to do. Okay, let's look at this this first 10 minutes, and this is the booklet that this comes out of has a whole host of things, but this was the one that really resonated with me. Is at point of sale, when you get someone to physically download the app, not hang up the phone and send them a link. If you're doing that, you know you're doing it wrong. You're not getting very many downloads. You're not getting engagement. I can look at most of the people in our office. They'll talk to 10 people and they'll get 2 downloads. They'll have 100 downloads and they'll have 2 people that are engaged. That's not how the system works. That's how it works if you just toss it out there like it's meaningless. If you do what we're talking about here, that will not be your experience, I guarantee you. So take some time, you get them to download it, then you take them through the process. And I've gone through this a couple times, did a video showing each one of these steps being done. It does not take that long. I actually think 10 minutes is probably a little too long. It may end up taking that long as you start engaging with someone and they're asking questions and getting excited about using the product. But take them in there, go ahead, get them downloading, have them put in a search their city, a zip code that they'd be interested in, point out listings and solds on the map. The reds are the listings, the yellows are the solds. Here's the key thing you really want them to do. You don't want to get past this step in the process of engagement with your customer unless you do this. If you don't do this, then you've lost it all, in my opinion. Have them tap on filters and then walk them through setting up a price range, number of beds, number of baths, property type. Set up a search and show them how the search feature works. There's all kinds of benefits there that you need to learn about. When you set up a search, new homes that match that search are going to be proactively sent to them. If there's an open house that meets their search, that's going to be sent to them. A new listing, open houses, they're going to be proactively communicated with. And when that occurs, they're seeing your face. They're being pulled into your app. They're being engaged by your app. And that's what you want to have happen. You want them to begin to use it. The more they use it, the more they're going to like it, the less they're going to use those other apps. And that's what's so important. So get them to go in and set up a search and then show them all the different things. Hey, look, once they go back to the map, here's the homes that meet your search, and play around with that. And then get them to find a house or two that they can save, that they can favorite with a little heart button. Show them how the schedule a showing button works. And then here's the key. Before they get out of that, they need to save that search. So save the search. It'll give you an option to name it. Have them name it. Hit save, and then you're home free at that point. You've been able to get them to save a search. Now the app is going to engage them proactively for you. It's just think about, I look at all the different, we're going to see some numbers here in a minute, but the hundreds of app downloads that many of you have. What if you had done this process with every single one of them? I can tell you, you probably would not have time to take new leads. If you've got 500, many of you do, 500 app downloads out there, if every one of them had a saved search or two, and we're being proactively pinged. I have one saved search in mine. I get pinged today from it. What did I do? I'm not looking for. I went in and I looked. Hey, cool. I was interested in the app. But what if out of 500 people that you have app downloads, I guarantee there are a significant number of those people are buying homes and they ain't calling you. And they probably would be if they had a saved search that was putting you in front of them all the time. And even if they didn't, through their activity in the app, they would be telling you to call them. They're talking to you by virtue of their activity. It's your responsibility to talk back, to contact them. So your goal during this engagement process, when they download the app, your goal, and you should feel like you have failed if you haven't done this, is to get them to save a search. Key, critical. If you can get them to save a search, you are off to the races. Incredibly good stuff. Okay, now I wanted to show you some real numbers here. These are most all of our LOs. I just wanted to. I was doing some planning myself for the office. Trying to. We've got just management stuff, trying to do that. So this upper group are really our kind of a group of folks that are taking leads, that are kind of been here long enough, that kind of thing. The lower group is a little bit different. They're either self-gen or haven't been here as long or whatever. So I wanted I wanted to get kind of a year-long look at an average loan amount. You can see, for each person it's a little different. The average came to 222, an average number of units, and then an average number of purchase units. Because here's the thing that really occurred as I was doing this exercise of planning for the office. It really occurred to me something that HBM had taught me a long time ago is you need to focus on purchase units, not total units, when you're doing your planning. And that's what each of you need to do. You need to concentrate how many purchase units do I have? And you can see that each individual person now. The next thing from the purchase units, now here's what I just picked a number, and there's a reason I picked it. I picked 7 purchase transactions per month as a goal. That's really a first goal for everyone. Everyone on this list, that's your goal. That's your first goal. 7 purchase loans a month. That gets you to a very stable, you're going to have some refis in there. That gets you to a stable place. If you have a team, notice Craig is not on here. His numbers are different. He's a different place. So, but most everybody else is in that place where let's get to that solid 7 loans, and then the next step would be getting an assistant and getting it up over 10. But for now, 7. So each of you can see your gap there between purchase loans and 7 purchase loans is your gap. And then the next category is downloads needed. We're using HBM's number of a 5% conversion rate. I fully believe that if you are getting downloads, if you're taking them through that engagement process, having them set up a search, and you're then following up on your top 20% and engaging back with them when you see their activity, if you're doing those things, setting up with a real estate agent, all those things, I honestly believe you probably get more than 5% turnover on that, but definitely 5% conversion. So that means for every 20 downloads, you would close 1 loan. So if the gap, you can see Chris at the top, his gap is 5, 20 times 5 is 100. So just look at your gap along there. Now, here's the next column, are the current downloads that each of you have. Now, some of you can see the top group especially has a ton of them, but you don't have a ton of them that you've really done it the right way with. And so you're not seeing that. So my encouragement would be to go into your dash, look at the ones that have some level of activity and begin engaging with those people, calling them up, talking to them, and going in and getting them to save a search. And then adding them to your downloads to your list, to what you need to close your gap. So if you need 100, you got Chris, an example of Chris here, he's got 477. Let's say he's got 20 of them that seem to be active. He calls up all those 20, he re-engages with them, he gets them to save a search, he makes sure that they have a realtor, he's in relationship with them. Okay, add those 20, and now you only need 80. Okay, look at it that way. That's the way you should do it. So you've got a lot of raw material in that right-hand column. You don't have to start from scratch, but you do have to call those people. You do have to engage with them. This is a relationship tool. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful. I just wanted to show you some of the planning that I was doing. There's a module when you go to EMT for managers around management, and I was really looking. They give you some charts here, and it talks about your branch gap. And so the way you figure out your branch gap, you figure out, okay, what capacity do I have, just like you're on your individual gap, what capacity do I have and where am I at? And the difference is the gap. And so, and then you go and down at the bottom here, you put in each individual loan officer, figure out where they're at, where their individual gaps, and they really talk about it in terms of a recruiting tool, bringing on new LOs and that kind of thing. But as I was going through and thinking about that, that's where I really thought about, man, we have got such power in our hands with the existing downloads we have, with a group of loan officers that are fully trained and understand this, that need to just make that little shift. This thing could really kick off very quickly for all of you. So I would encourage each of you to go back and redo your own gap exercise. You saw what I put there. Think about it for yourself. Do your own numbers and figure out what you need to do. How many downloads do I really, legit downloads, do I really need to have? Ones that are fully engaged, and begin making that a point of focus in your business, in your sales business, is getting those app downloads. Really good quote that Mitch made, Mitch King, was, "You've got to be chasing pipeline, not transactions." And so most of us, we get a new lead, whether it's a Ramsey lead or a self-gen lead, doesn't matter, and you're chasing that transaction. You're trying to close that transaction, which there is a point you need to do that, but your business needs to be built around chasing a pipeline. And so that's what we're talking about, is doing the smart things, getting engagement with the buyer, getting them to download and save a search, and then making your calls to your top 20% of activity, and begin seeing those turnover over time. When you do it that way, you don't have to spend as much time on that closing of each individual transaction. It's not like you don't come to each day with a 0 in the win column. You've been fostering that all along. So I would encourage you to take this to heart, do this gap exercise, and begin focusing on getting downloads that are fully engaged, that you can begin relationship building with. Hopefully that's helpful. Let me know if you'd like any individual help. I'd love to be working with each of you individually. Hope that helps.